we are waiting for Puveri, Murali, and Madhavan, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
sir.
Okay, and Puveri is here. So we are waiting for Madhavan.
I think we just start.
Okay. So what we will do is, so I went through all the tasks that you had sent. So let's discuss that first, and we will go task by task. Okay.
Okay.
So for task one, some of you wrote, some of you, had even drawn some pictures. Uh, the rule came out for many of, not all, but not in the way that you will explain it to a child. Okay, so let's look into that. So the first part was when we have like fractions. This is comparing fractions. Okay, so that means fractions with the same denominator, right? Now in this case what happens is, so if the fractions have the same denominator, then the fractions are made by the same pieces, right? So the difference is basically uh, how many pieces are needed to make each fraction. That's what you need to focus on. Okay, and therefore, so that is why you look into the numerators, because that's how many pieces, right? And so more pieces means bigger fractions, right? So therefore, larger numerator means a bigger fraction. Okay. See, this level of detailing need was what I was looking for. So this was for the first one. Okay. Now for the second one, where we had same numerator. Okay. That means same number of pieces for both fractions. Okay, so you cannot look into that. So you consider uh, size of each piece. Okay, so bigger the piece, larger the fraction, right? Now bigger piece, bigger pieces means smaller denominator, or bigger pieces means whole split in smaller number of pieces, right? Okay, somebody's video is on, and I don't know how long my Wi-Fi will support a video. So just to let you know, okay? So the number of pieces is basically denominator, right? So smaller denominator. Okay, so smaller denominator means bigger fraction. Okay, this is the detail that I wanted you to come up with. So now do you see the picture? See, once you play with the pieces, this part becomes clearer.
Yeah.
Okay, so I mean the exact rule you can just say it, no problem. Okay, but that will be just, you know, memorizing the rule. Whereas when you explain it this way, then it basically makes sense. Okay, do you guys have that poster from Jodogyan where it's a birthday party and different number of children are seated in different tables? Each table has a cake, and one child has come in and he loves having cake. So which table should he go and sit in?
I've seen the poster in another building in our
Okay.
campus. I don't think I have.
Okay, I mean you can create a similar poster. Okay, so basically the larger, it's if it's the whole is the same, then the larger number of pieces you split it into, the smaller the pieces will get, right? So that notion comes in here. Okay, so this was task 1. Okay, now task 2. Okay, okay, I think task 2 only Puveri did to an extent, but I think all of you kind of missed it. Maybe I was not very clear, you know, what I meant by task 2. So let me make it clear. Task 2 was finding equivalent fractions. Okay. So what you needed to do was, for example, let's say you have half. Okay. Now you can make half also with 1/4. You can make it with the 1/6. You can make it with the 1/8, with the 1/10, and with the 12. Okay, and obviously we stop there because we don't go beyond, I mean, when you are making the fractions, you don't go, the fraction kit, you don't go beyond 12. Okay, now let's look at 1/3. So it can be made with 1/6, with 1/9, with the 12, right? Now, as soon as you get that, you can also get what happens here. Okay. Similarly, you do 1/4. You will get, you would make it with 1/8 and with 1/12. And similarly, you can find for 2/4. Well, 2/4 has been taken care of already. So we can do a similar thing. I'm not going to complete it. You guys can complete it. Then we do the similar thing for 1/5. Then of course 2/5, 3/5, 4/5. Then 1/6. And similarly, I think 2/3 is all. 2/6 is already here. 3/6 is already here. 4/6 is here. So 5/6 will come in fresh. Yeah, I think this is if you complete this part, then you will get all possible equivalent fractions that you can get with denominator being less than equal to 12. Okay, so this is what I want you to complete. Okay, if you want to put picture, that is fine, but right now in whatever if you use the fraction kit, this is something you should be able to come up with. Okay, if you want to go up to 15, feel free to do so. If you want to go up to 16, etc., you can do that, no problem. But if you go up to 12, this is what you will get. Okay, so this is task 2, and you need to kind of redo it a bit. Okay, and once you do it, then we will discuss what are the conclusions, especially like once you have 1/3, what are the conclusions for 2/3. Okay, and same that way. Okay, so that is task 2. Now task 3, some of you did task 3 well, but I want to mention, see, for example, if this is how you did your task 3, where you have created an equivalent fraction and then you have made 2 copies of it and you have done formed equivalent fraction, this is correct, absolutely no doubt about it. But then the thing is, when you split, you cannot split all the parts in one go. Like you can split these two together, okay, but then you have to draw another line to do this. So while this is not incorrect, the picture that we had shown you, okay, so you kind of make a square like this, and then so this is the 3/4. Okay, and then if you split it, if you split it this way, then you see all the sections are getting split the same at the same time. Okay, so while the previous visual is correct, this one is more generalizable and kind of easier to deal with. Okay, so so do many of you used this? So those who didn't, give this a shot too. Okay, you cannot do, see, you can deal with any fractions through this, but you cannot deal with a 2/5 with this. 2 by 5 cannot be represented this way. So that was task 3. Now task 4, I think most people got task 4 correctly. I just have some things to point out. Very few, not much. See, for example, 10 and 12 are correct, okay, because they are neither co-prime nor they are factor multiple of each other. What about 4 and 9? So if they are not co-prime, then they need to have a common factor other than 1. Do 4 and 9 have a common factor other than 1?
No.
Yeah, so that part wasn't correct, okay. And if I look into many others, it's a similar thing. Uh, okay, this one did not have too many. Also, if you are taking pictures, I would appreciate if you copy paste them, you know, into a Word file or a PDF, something like that, and then share instead of 3 separate uh, uh, pictures. Okay. So here again, okay. Now this part, this is fine. Co-prime is fine. You know, these things are all fine. But when you are looking at neither co-prime nor factor multiple, I believe this is half and 2/5. So 2 and 5. What is the common factor between 2 and 5?
Oh, I messed up.
Yeah. So same thing, 3 and 8. Okay. See, these are things that many people
I thought that there shouldn't be a common factor.
see. It said neither co-prime. That means it has to have a common factor,
Okay, I misunderstood.
right?
Yeah.
See, the last level is very, you know, if you have a proper LCM, that optimizes. Okay. So, yeah, I think this one is fine. And some of you did a lot more work than that was needed, which is fine. I mean, you have a good practice of now, you know, yeah. So this one I think was fine. This one was a little hard to read, but I think it was fine more or less. As at least I couldn't figure out. Yeah. Okay. So let's see. So here also a similar issue. See, 4 and 6 are perfectly fine, but 7 and 8 are again co-prime, right? So they will not fit into level 4. They are more like level 3. Okay. So just be a bit careful. Also, I think it's a good idea to use reduced fractions. Okay. When you do that, like 4 by 8, that's essentially half. Okay.
Yes.
So yeah. And this may be the last one. Yeah, again, 2 by 4, 3. it's like level 1, sorry, level 2. This is level 3, this is level 1, and again this is level 3. So none of these actually fall into level 4. Okay, none of these fall into level 4. Okay, but see how here, Madhavan has taken pictures and just put it in the Word file. That really helps. So, that would be appreciated. Okay, so that was task 4. So go through what you have submitted, and there may be a little bit of error here and there, so just fix them. Now task 5, I think the first one was easy. First one, I don't think anybody had any problem with. So it's the second one which I would like to discuss. So 5 and 1/3 minus 2 and 3/4. Now some of you did a good job with that. So let me first 5 and 1/3 minus 2 and 3/4. Okay. So now obviously you do this and then you do, okay, I think first step should be that note that it is 5 and 1/3 minus 2 minus 3/4, right? Because you have to take away 2 and you have to take away the 2/4. And then you do this, you basically interchange. So that's commutativity in action. Okay, so you get 3 from the first part. Now you need to get into equivalent fractions. So you get 4/12 minus 9/12. Now you see the problem. So as some of you have done, you have split it into like this. Okay. Now, and then what you can do is, you can do this also, because figuring out how much will be left if you subtract it out of 1 is easier. Okay, doing this part is easier, so you can quickly get that and then you are done. Okay, there is another alternative that you can attempt. Oh, hang on. What you can do, this is another option. So if you have a good sense of fractions, then you might realize that, oh, so you go, I'm skipping some steps here. So you might realize that 1/3 is smaller than 3/4. Now, if you do that, so you can straight away go here, okay, and then you can deal with okay. So see, we haven't gone into the common denominator yet, okay, and then you have and then it boils down to the same thing, and at this step you can get into common denominator. And then the rest is the same, okay. See, to do this, what you need to is, you need to have a sense of which is smaller, which is bigger. And if children get adequate exposure to playing with the pieces, then they can develop that sense. They can have a sense, oh, 3/4 is more than half and 1/3 is less than half. So 1/3 is definitely less than 3/4. So that kind of argument you can build up. Okay. And uh, so what you did in terms of adding these two and then subtracting this is perfectly fine, okay. But if you want to do it orally, quickly, etc., then um, subtracting a fraction from one is always an easier thing to do, okay. So this is another way to tackle subtraction of mixed fractions without getting into improper. Now, can anybody tell me if there is any any advantage to doing this subtraction problem this way without getting into improper fraction?
Finally, they know how many whole part is left and the fraction part is left from this task.
That they will know even if they go that route. But I think you know why this is helpful. See, if you convert this into improper fraction, that's the standard way. Okay, you can kind of like a standard algorithm, and it may require less steps, so to speak. But two things happen. A, the numbers become bigger, okay, because of the multiplication and all those things. The numbers become bigger, so there is higher chance of making mistakes. Also, till you get to the answer and then convert it back into mixed fraction, you don't have a sense of how big a number you are dealing with. Okay. Whereas here, even within the first few steps, okay, I mean, here we have meticulously, taken these steps, but the moment you do a 5 minus 2, right, you immediately get a sense of how big the number is going to be. So you have a better approximation of the answer from the beginning. That's one advantage. The other advantage is that the numbers don't get too big. Okay, so that's the second advantage. Okay. Okay. So that's all we had regarding tasks. I just want to know really quickly, Um, so did anybody any more progress in making the fraction kit?
Yes.
Okay, so
We, Madhavan, Murli, and myself, we three worked together and came up with a fraction kit, but we didn't complete the strips yet.
okay, so what all did you make?
Um, the circle and then the scale.
Okay, okay, great. So once you are done, definitely share pictures.
Yes.
Did you face any difficulty making them?
No, we didn't.
Okay,
No, when we divide it and cut it into 1 by 12, 1 by 10, that is where we found some difficulty.
uh, for which ones? 1/12.
Yes, for bigger numbers.
Yes, because then the sizes become smaller.
Mm.
Yeah, yep, that happens. Yeah. So once we covered this and then we go into multiplication of a fraction, it's good to see that multiplication of a fraction by whole number is dealt with first. Okay. Now, this one ideally should be dealt in two different ways. Uh, till you establish uh, commutativity. Okay. um, I don't think the book has done it. Okay, no, the book did not do it, but it is a good idea to do that. Yeah. So this is how you can think about it. When you are multiplying a fraction, a whole number by a fraction, you start with the whole number. Okay, so 3 times 2/5, so you take 3, then split each one into 5 equal parts, and then share 2 out of 5 for each. So you end up getting, you can see that it is 3 times 2 divided by 5. So you can see that there are 3 times 2 pieces. Okay, so 3 times 2 is the numerator, and each of the piece, 5 of each piece make up the whole, so 5 is the denominator. Okay. um, Here is another one. If you multiply it with improper fraction, okay, so 2 times 5 by 3, so you start with 2, split them into 1/3, and you need 5 of this, so that's where you get 5 of each, and then again you observe that you have got, you know, 2 times 5. Total 2 times 5 pieces, and so that's the numerator. And 3 of these pieces make a whole, so 3 is in the denominator. Okay. Now similarly, but when you do fraction times a whole number, then it is like repeated addition. Okay, hang on. Okay, this one needs to be changed. Okay. Copy paste error. Okay. Okay. So on the other hand, if you are doing proper fraction times whole number, then you start with the proper fraction and make as many copies of that. So you start with 1 2/5 and then get 2 more. So total you have 3 2/5. Note that if you look at this picture and you look at this picture, they're essentially the same. Okay, no doubt about that. However, the process to get there was different. In case of whole number times proper fraction, you started with the whole. Okay. In case of proper fraction times whole number, you started with one proper fraction. Okay. So the end result will be the same, but and that's understandable. But to get there, it is different. Okay. Similarly, if you want to do improper times whole number, you start with an improper, then double it. Okay. So you can see that, this picture and this picture, they're the same, but the way we got there are different. In this case, we started with 2 wholes and then we ended up here. In case we started with an improper fraction or a mixed fraction, and then we ended up here. So the starting points are different for the two. The reason this is needed is see, when you
Somehow the second one, I don't know, I feel it's easier for me. Which one
the
should be?
improper fraction one.
Which one is more logical? I'm not sure.
Okay, so let me go back to that. So I haven't animated it, but ideally this is what you start with.
Okay.
Just one improper fraction, one copy of it. And then double it.
Yeah.
Okay. Whereas in this case, what happens, you start with two whole. Then split them into 1/3. Okay. And then you try to get 5 of each. So you can get only 3 out of this, and then you add 1 more and get 2 more out of that.
Yeah.
So step 1, step 2, step 3.
Yeah.
Now,
so we should do both with children, right?
depending upon which you are doing. So if you are doing whole number time improper fraction, then it is this. If you are doing improper times whole number, then it is this.
So it should be emphasized that it's
Yes,
two different
to
things.
start with-
It's not
to
5 by
start
3
with
times 2 or 2 by 3 times 5 is not the
Yes,
same.
to
It's
start
different.
with, you do that till you establish the commutativity. Usually we assume. What I'm trying to say is don't assume.
Yeah, so it's two different things. It's
Yes,
not.
two different things, both giving you the same result. Okay. So the reason why we wanted to do is because, see, children get this part. So if you have a 3 by 4 times 2 by 5, they get that you have to do 3 times 2 divided by 4 times 5. That they have no problem with. Okay. However, if you have something like uh, 3 by 4 times 2, then sometimes they get a bit confused whether to multiply this 2 with the top or with the denominator. Okay. And yes, you can think of it as 2 by 1 and proceed that way. Yes, you can do that. But that is why I think it's a better idea to start with this guy. Okay. And you can use repeated addition. Okay. And this is something they know. So they will automatically get that this is 3 plus 3 by 4. And now the top is nothing but this is 3 times 2 by 4. So why the 2 should be multiplied only with the top comes out very clearly from here. Okay. However, if you have a 2 times 3 by 4, then it needs to be established that you started with. So this is where, you know, the pictures will come in. That you start with 2 holes and you split each one into 1/4 and take three of them. Once you get to this picture, then you realize, okay, now it has boiled down to again the same thing. 3 by 4 plus 3 by 4. So it's like the previous case. Okay. But it's a good idea to, you know, go through it through the picture. If you do 1 or 2, then they should get what is happening. Okay. Because what happens is each whole will get converted into one such fraction. So that is where this comes in. Okay. So slightly different process. Here you start with this and make so many copies. Here you start with so many holes, and then from each hole you generate this fraction. Okay. Very slight difference in the starting point, but they end up with the same thing. Okay. So that is why deal with the whole times fraction to begin with. Start with that. Okay. Then get into fraction times fraction. Okay. So few very important steps. Step 1, again, depending upon what you are doing, you can further split it into and okay. Similarly, here also there will be 2 steps. Okay. Now you can demonstrate one thing and then ask the children to figure out, okay, so what will be this? Okay. So basically set all these as problems and let them figure out what will be the next thing, etc. So similarly, when you get to step 2, this is fractions times fractions. Okay. And so this is going to be, there will be 3 parts: proper fraction times proper fraction. Okay, that's the easier one. Then proper times improper. Okay, and of course, again, this will have 2 parts. And then okay, so definitely do step 1 before step 2, and in step 2 make sure you do all 3, and that is very, very important. I believe if you look at the math resources, uh, there should be one something on this. So let me double check if it is there. There should be one link to an article which deals with this fraction multiplication, especially with respect to improper. Okay, it doesn't have, so okay. I'm going to share one article with you, and that deals with improper fractions. Okay. Let me quickly show it to you now. And it's mostly visual, so Okay. So this is how you do a proper by proper. Okay. So the blue one is the whole. The thick blue border indicates the whole, and the red one indicates the product. Okay. And here, when you multiply a proper with a proper, you end up getting a proper fraction. So it's contained within the whole. Now, in this case, yeah. So that was a. Now let us look at this case. Okay. So it's a proper times an improper. Okay. So you can see that this was the proper, this is the half thing, and how it kind of spilled over in the direction of the improper fraction. Okay. So that is very important. So similarly, if it was the other way, it would have spilled over the other way. Okay. The total is still a proper fraction. Okay. I mean, it could have been improper also. And again, dealing with both possibilities is a good idea. So for example, if it was 7/3, then it would have been, the answer would have been an improper fraction. Okay. And so, and this is the third example where it's an improper times improper. And here you can clearly notice that the whole, which is the blue box, is smaller than the product, which is the red box. So very clearly, when you multiply an improper by an improper, you end up getting an improper, right? So all three needs to be there. Okay. And so that is very, very important, because otherwise, you remember, when you multiply with whole numbers other than multiplication with 0 and 1, things always increase. But when you multiply with fractions, things usually decrease if it is you are multiplying with proper fractions. But the moment you multiply with an improper fraction, they do increase. So that kind of sense needs to be built in. Okay, that so that they don't form a misconception that whenever you multiply with a fraction, it always reduces. No, not necessarily. Depends on what you are multiplying. Okay. So if you want to do proper fraction times proper fraction, I mean, square is the best way. So you can go cross hash this way, then split it the other way, and then you get the doubly shaded part, which gives you the product. Okay, so this is an example of proper times proper. This is an example of improper times proper. Okay, so you can see that it has spilled over in one direction, but the basic process remains the same. This is proper times improper. So this is the starting point, then you split it, and you need 4 such. So you take all 3 and you need 1 more, and then you get the 4th. Okay. So this is the final thing. And again, you can see the spillover here. And this is where it is improper times improper. Okay, so you start with an improper, split it into half. Okay, and you need not just 2 but 3 halves. So, and you can see the spillover, this is This is the hole, and you can see a spillover this way and this way. Okay. Yeah. So these are the 4 ways you can think about multiplication. For multiplication, when you are doing this step 1, circles can be useful. Strips can also be useful. But when you go into this one, circles may not be that helpful. Okay, it becomes more difficult. Square works out the best when it comes to multiplication. Okay. That does not mean you cannot use strips at all. You can, because uh, either using strips or using that GeoGebra model of multiplication where you are multiplying number lines. Using one of the two, you have to kind of get to the number line aspect. Okay, for especially for rational numbers. So somewhere probably strips need to come in. Now, there is one thing which is very crucial for all this. And those are which are kind of help in doing both finding the common uh, denominator for addition, subtraction, and comparison. And when you are multiplying and you are reducing it, etc. So for example, if you have 6 by 25 times 10 by 9, okay, that turns out to be 6 times 10 by 25 times 9, right? Now, obviously, you want to reduce this, right? You want to cancel out this 6s and 9 for 3. Let me see if I can write it in a better way. So, we end up getting 6 times 10 by 25 times 9. It is a good idea to start all this, reducing once you get it in this form. Okay, because now you have a very clear numerator and a very clear denominator. And whenever you need to cancel out, it has to be one thing on top and another in the bottom. Okay, that part has to be clear. So it helps to have only one thing in the top and one thing in the bottom, as opposed to here. Okay, because here it can create some confusion. Also using different kind of stroke. So for when you cancelled with 3, it was this stroke, and now you want to cancel with 5, so you can have a different stroke. Okay, that also kind of helps not getting confused, etc., keep track of things, etc. Okay, so These are very tiny things, but really help in terms of minimizing error, getting less confused, and so on and so forth. Okay. Now, and also helps you as a teacher be able to see what they have done, if they have made any mistake or not. Now, for all that, the things that become very important are these primes, okay, knowing what primes are, etc. Prime factors, okay, of any number, and then divisibility. Okay. So these become very, very important. And those are covered. So we are going to discuss this on Monday, along with and maybe then get into division. Okay. So these are very, very important. So let me set some tasks. Task 1, check all divisible. Okay, you don't have to submit this, but you need to check all these things, and you should be able to tell which divisibility rules are there and etc. not there, all of that. Task 2, just like you have done addition, subtraction, uh, do one example of each of these steps. Okay, so this will have 4 and this will have 4, so total 4 plus 4, 8 examples. Okay, so these will with pictures. Yes, Savitri.
Can you explain task 1, Swati?
Check the textbooks, it will have all the divisibility rules.
Okay.
Okay, see if you understand them. If not, how do you think they should be taught? Okay, so hang on 1 second. How they are discussed, comment on it. Okay, you think this is adequate, you think something else needs to be done. Okay, so look
Okay.
into that.
Okay.
Okay, and task 2 is what will have lots of pictures. Okay, so all 8 different multiplications that are there, so one example of each one. Okay, now if I remember correctly, I had shared something called chocolate plate model for fraction division. Do you have that?
Yes, Swati, we have that.
Okay, great. And I believe it is on the drive. open something. Okay. So this chocolate plate model, this is one page. Okay, it's basically a tabulated thing, but it captures all the possible division situations you can end up with fractions. Okay, so the basic idea is if you have a situation where it is a p by q, okay, you are both positive rational numbers, so whole numbers, fractions, something like that. You can model it use as P chocolate. Okay, so P is the dividend getting equally divided among Q plates. Q is the divisor. Okay, the quotient is among each plate. Now, as you can see, where the dividend is whole, must cover both proper and improper. Now we have given example. Okay. Sorry, I had dropped out for a minute. Okay. So back to the chocolate plate. Now, if your range type, okay, so just like your dividend can be whole, unit fraction, or a non-unit fraction, similarly your divisor can be whole or a unit fraction or a non-unit fraction, and this is where the steps are very important. So this is the procedure. Okay, remember the divisor is the number of plates. Okay, so you take as many plates as the whole number divisor. Okay, and then you divide the dividend equally among all the plates, and the amount on each plate is the quotient. Okay, so fairly straightforward. And then in the next case, and we have given you different situations. So notice how in this case, when you are dividing a whole number by a whole number, The quotient can be a whole number, it can be a unit fraction, it can be a non-unit fraction. So that is what these examples try to capture. If you divide a unit fraction by a whole number, you will always get a unit fraction. So no further bifurcations here. And again, when you divide a non-unit fraction by whole, you can get two possibilities here. You can get a unit fraction, you can get a non-unit fraction or a non-unit. So the reason why these two are given differently. Okay, once you do it, you will know. Okay, so I very strongly recommend that you try these examples out, and then you will know what is happening. Okay. Now, if the dividend is a unit fraction, then what you do is you take one plate and divide it in as many equal parts as the denominator of the unit fraction. Then you place all the dividend that is there in one part, okay, and then place equal amounts in all remaining parts. Okay, maybe I should show this with pictures. Okay, so this, okay, so this is where okay, so you are dividing a whole number by a unit fraction. Okay, so you have split the plate into 5 equal parts, and so this is the plate what you have. So you're dividing 3 by 1/5, so put all 3 in here. Okay, and then you have to fill the plate exactly like this. So you can see that each of these 1/5 will get 3. Okay, so 3 divided by 1/5 became 3 times 5. Okay, that's basically what we teach, but this explains why that happened. Now compare this with what happens, say for example, in this case, when you're dividing a whole number by a whole number. You're dividing 3 by 5. You start with 3, you divide each into 5 parts, and you take 1/5 from each, right? So you know that this becomes 3 by 5, which is nothing but 3 times 1/5. So here also you saw that, multiplying by the reciprocal happened. Here also the same thing happened. And I mean, the divisor really doesn't make a difference, whatever it is. In this case, it was a whole number and it got multiplied by 5. In this, it's a proper fraction which got multiplied by 5. And if it was an improper fraction, same. Okay, it got multiplied by 5. Okay, so this part is not so difficult, but it really brings out that flip thing. Okay, now if you divide a whole number by a unit fraction, you will always get a whole number. And the different cases are illustrated here. Now, this part where the divisor is a non-unit fraction, then things get a bit more complicated and you need to look at it very carefully. So in this case, what happens? Let's look at this. 3 is getting divided by 2/5. So you start with the plate. So 2/5 of the plate is shaded. So 3 has to be put into equally into this. So naturally it will be 3 by 2 in each. Okay. So that's 3 by 2, 3 by 2. Okay. And then the whole plate needs to be filled up that way. And that's what has happened. So the resulting, whatever is there in the whole plate is 3 by 2 times 5, or in other words, 3 times 5 by 2. So let us just consolidate that. So we are doing 3 divided by 2/5. Okay. So we have this. Okay. You know what? Let me draw a circle for a change. Okay. And so let's say we take these two. So that's our 2/5. Okay. Now, or maybe as some people wanted me to draw, maybe I should just draw it like this. So this is 2/5. Okay. Now 3 has to be placed equally here, right? So each will be, this will be 3 by 2. This will be 3 by 2. So what we have done so far is we have done this. This is what we have done. Okay. And that we already know this is equal to because we have already seen that whole number by whole number, we have already seen that. Okay. So this is what we have done. And this gives us how much is there in one part of the plate. Okay. Now that we have got it, now let us complete the plate. So there are 3 more parts. And each will have 3 by 2 pieces of chocolate. So total we will have, so total this much is there in the entire plate. Okay. Is this part clear?
Yes, Swati.
Okay. Now we are going to use associativity. By associativity, this is just that. And so this is nothing but okay. So we teach this flip. Okay, most textbooks have it, but the explanation of how it works is rarely given. And that is where we learned this chocolate plate model from somebody, and it turned out to be a very, very robust model. Okay, so in that PPT that I have shared with you, chocolate plate model, the fraction square, it includes all the cases with whole numbers, proper fractions, etc. But if you try it with even improper fraction, it works. Okay. So we are kind of at the end of the day. So here is task 3. And task 3 is going to be a bit bigger. Okay. So task 3 is try all the different division situations. Okay. Namely, I want you to try one. Divisor is a whole number. 2, divisor is unit fraction. 3, divisor is non-unit proper fraction. And 4, where the divisor is improper fraction. Okay. Now you can choose what your dividend should be. I don't really care, because the dividend is not so important. What is important is that they get this divided by a division by a by b becomes multiplication by b by a, that aspect. So at this level, I don't care what your dividend is, but you have to get all these 4 kinds of divisors, okay, and do it. Since we are talking about plates, you can take circle as the plate and split it, etc. That is perfectly fine. And you can write the dividend part in terms of numbers. That's perfectly fine too. Okay. So this is the third task. Okay. Now, once you do that, then I think if you have any question or if you need any clarification, etc., that can be done. Please do it in this order. Okay. It's very important that it is done in this order and you do not skip any steps. Okay. So first whole numbers, then unit fraction, then non-unit proper fraction, and then improper fraction. Okay. So that would be task 3. And last time Puveri consolidated all the tasks and sent out an email. So this time also there are 3 tasks. Okay. There's one task on divisibility rules. The second task is on multiplication. Okay. And the third task is on division. Okay. So again, if one of you can consolidate all these tasks and send an email or WhatsApp message, that will be good. And then I will see you on Monday. And do remember to, fix the small errors that you had in the addition, subtraction, etc. related tasks. That shouldn't take too long. Anything else?
I'm good.
Yes, Sundar?
I said I'm good.
Okay. So one advantage of the chocolate plate model is neither the chocolate nor the plate is a living being. So it is perfectly fine to split the chocolate, cut the chocolate into smaller pieces or divide the plate into pieces. Okay. If one of them is, human beings or things like that, then that would be difficult. So that's another advantage of the chocolate plate model. Okay, so that's it for today. So Monday we are going to wrap up with fractions, get a little bit into this prime composite, etc. and then also probably get a little bit into HCF, LCM related stuff. And then the next 2 days, most likely we will spend on integers. Okay, so that's it from my end today. See you guys on Monday.
Bye bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Swati.